Alrighty there, Joe.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I think we're live. I think it's happening. Woo. I mean, 11/19/2020. Have you had the apple fritter at McDonald's yet?
Are you asking the crowd or me?
You. I'm asking you. And
Folks, I don't know if you've had the apple.
Joe, have you had?
No, I haven't.
They have that new line of baked goods to like compete with their like Starbucks, like McCafe kind of market vibe, you know? It's good, but it's really just a fat Little Debbie. It's like a honey bun. It's delicious. I grew up on Little Debbie's. I'm not complaining, but it's a $3 Little Debbie at the McDonald's. But I think that was today what I had for breakfast. It's hard. My days kind of mixed together.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the shape of it is kind of, you know, where a normal cinnamon roll, you can see the roll. This is more just like the indent.
They have a
roll.
cinnamon roll. I haven't had the cinnamon roll yet. The fritter is more my speed. It's kind of gooey and glazy throughout, and that's kind of my vibe. I like it gooey and glazy. And jeepers, let's see. Oh God, what's been? I mean, there's so much going on in the world. I mean, really, the last couple episodes we did were about the election.
Well, politics are over now. Biden,
but it's done. It's canceled.
Yeah.
We never have to worry about it again.
Yeah,
that's far from the truth.
Get back to our lives.
That's far from the truth, from what I'm seeing on Twitter lately. God, but I've been finally been able to kind of check in on other issues and see what else is going on. I'm a married guy, but I have a lot of single friends, and I was reading an example of this, and I think single people don't tell their married and shipped up friends enough. Like Joe's a single guy; he's not married, but he is unavailable, right? He's
unavailable.
Yeah, he's in
pending.
You know what I mean?
Well, a pending lawsuit.
He's in a trial run right now. He's in his 90-day free trial, and we don't know if we're going to cancel before it's over or if it's going to be a monthly commitment. But single people, they don't tell people like me and Joe enough about like how hella racist people are in dating apps. Have you seen this lately, Joe?
Yeah. I mean, you know, when I was on dating apps years ago.
Okay, so you did some app dating. See, Tinder was new right before I started dating my wife. So, before she was my wife, of course. So I didn't have the experience, I think. But like people have called, I think I've seen this. There's such a racial divide in our culture, and then physically here in St. Louis, like literally, like social geographic patterns. But probably lots of other places are like that too. But I've heard about it in dating a lot. It's something I was thinking about the other day, and that like so just asking like white guys, like my white guy friends. And you don't have to tell me. But for you, ask yourself, how often do you take a genuine interest in building any kind of relationship with people outside your bubble? Like your Judeo-Christian, white, suburban, varsity bubble. There are sometimes minorities in that bubble, but they're often like a fetishized second-class stand-in to like this patriarchal narcissism, I guess, is the word.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's wild out there, folks. Like as a fat kid, I get just a glimpse of the horror of dating as a lesser species. You know what I mean? And the gay community gets called out for this a lot, like on Grindr and stuff. You see people advertising no fatties or no Asians or sometimes literally Caucasian only or Caucasian preferred. Literally Google it. It's wild. I've seen, you can see screenshots and people will tell you like for real, like it's hard out here. Even in 2020. Ask your friends, for real. Ask your mixed race friends that you claim to have. Ask your black friends that you act like you have. Ask them what it's really like trying to find not just, relationships, but any kind of friendship in a segregated kind of culture that so many of us are kind of locked into. You know what I mean?
I found the turd. It's just hanging off of the back of his tail here. We should address that later. Anyway, you were saying I'm not trying to ruin the podcast. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your cat is. I agree completely. I think
There was shit stuck to the cat.
Yeah, and I think So you can see it right there. Yeah. Sorry. Let's
And then
keep it
that's
flow.
the shit that got on your coat.
That's the coat. Yeah,
That's the coat shit.
Yeah. Anyway, so I completely agree. I think that's actually more of, you should notice that there's oppression. There's more comfortable oppression in the
And
people,
maybe
the
oppression is
fields
not
of
even the right word, but just the prejudice. And I don't want anyone
prejudice.
to date somebody they're not attracted to, but I also don't think people leave themselves that door open. Like when you, even little kids, they picture like their fantasy of what romance could be in their adult life or whatever. They picture it in a very binary sort of whitewashed kind of a way, right? Like we all grew up watching Julia Roberts and Sarah Jessica Parker struggle to find love in this big crazy world that also happened to be exclusively affluent and white and apparently free of STDs.
Yeah.
Like Elysium. Like it's just a bunch of beautiful blonde rich white people just walking around.
Yeah, and even if they're like,
and they're all waitresses and artists and they can live in high rises in Manhattan. Like what?
And they're never struggling.
I'd love to see like the episode like where Phoebe has to be a substitute teacher, but then she has to sell plasma to buy groceries with. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like where's the dark, awkward reality? Like I don't think there was an episode of Mindy where she was actually being honest about how terrible not just men but all people can be on like online messaging and dating and chatting kind of sphere. You know what I'm saying? Like people say like crazy shit. I kept interrupting you.
No, it's okay. I think they never have a problem of keeping they never have the problem of work life getting away of their social life. That's the problem that these movies have.
Oh yeah, they remove so much from it. Like as much.
It's all perfectly balanced.
Well, and there's just it's just not real. It's just not. I mean, it's not representative of. But for so many of us, like that's where we get our cultural cues from. You know what I mean? And that's just something I wrote down. But it's obviously been upstaged by the cat shit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We can edit.
No,
that.
this is King's fault, and this is how he's going to learn. Is that's going to be his introduction to the world. We have listeners all over the world, and he's tracking literal cat shit across my studio. So,
yeah,
I thought this episode was going to be called Fat Little Debbie. But now it's got to be literal cat shit. I was doing this math in my head this morning. I was trying to think about they talk about, you hear all the time how 1% of the population controls more than 50% of the wealth or whatever. The numbers always, that was always a problem for me with campaigns that threw those statistics at you a lot, but like that was always kind of my that's hard to visualize. And so I was thinking about, in high school I took this really cool class called discrete math. And one of our first assignments was to try to bring in something that represents a million of something. And in a way that we could divide it and pass it out, and it's feasible that it could be counted and whatnot. And so I was really, really struggling, and I was trying to think, like, can I go to Global Foods and get like 1 million grains of rice? Like, how do I know exactly? How am I going to count it? I even asked my German teacher, I said, do you think I could borrow from your supply closet 1 million Post-it notes or 1 million index cards? Because I thought maybe he would have that many. And finally I went to a former math teacher of mine. His name was Greg Booth. He's not dead, I don't think. He was a lovely gentleman, very gifted genius. He could apparently draw a circle, like a perfect circle, which apparently means you're crazy or something. I heard that was the rumor then. But he told me to get 1 million digits of pi. And so I went online and found, someone else had done this where they had 1 million digits of pi, and you could copy it and paste it into a Word document and print it. And I boiled it down to like 7-point fonts. So you could still read it, still determine what it was. And I printed it, and it was like 73 pages. And I was one of the only kids that got to do that assignment. I was one of the only kids that actually brought something in, because nobody else had sought that outside tutelage to really try to think about exactly what a million is. We were all thinking initially about a million of the same exact thing, just one thing duplicated a million times, a million of these little blue guitar picks or something. And that's obviously crazy, right? You can't even, it takes way too long to linearly on your own count that many of those things. We couldn't have done it in time. So I was thinking about that because I'm trying to visualize, if you look at our population, isn't it 300 something million people or 400 million people?
Population of America?
The United States.
Yeah, it's
So let's say it's 400 million with all the babies and children's. And
documented.
1% of that.
328.
How much?
328.2.
328?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say it's just round down to 3 million people.
300 million.
No, I'm talking 1% of that, though.
Oh,
so
yeah,
1%
so
of 300 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's still 3 million people. That's a self-sustainable group. 3 million people is a perfectly decent-sized community. You know what I mean? It's, like a large city or something, but there's plenty of room for age range and diversity there. And I was thinking when I made the joke to myself earlier about the dating sphere in 90s television, like being like Elysium, I was thinking about like, that's not that few people. Like 3 million, like you originally think, oh, they need the masses to, produce things and to do all the jobs and whatnot. But 3 million people, if everybody chipped in a little bit, that's a pretty nice little self-sustained little country club you got there. You know what I'm saying? Like if they all decide to bounce and go to Mars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Mars could sustain 1 million. But yeah,
3 million. 3 million wealthy people.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think the point of them though is that they aren't. So the point is that they exist on top of everybody else, which means leaving for Mars. There are going to be people who want to go to Mars, but the moment they're not the 1%, I think they're going to have a problem. The point of the 1% is that they can't actually make money or exist without the rest of the population. So they are 3 million, but they will never be like they will only exist with us around. You know what I'm saying?
Like in order for their wealth to grow to the point that it has, it needs
in order
the opposite end of the bell curve.
Right, but also in order for their wealth to have the power it does,
mm-hmm.
and in order for their wealth to do what it does, their wealth does what it does because it does what it does with us.
Mm-hmm.
The wealth does not it doesn't do what it's supposed to do with that 1%.
Sir?
Yeah.
Take a breath. This COVID shit is fucked up. I'm going to say it. We're 13 minutes in. I can use the F word finally. I don't think we'll get shadow banned.
Why is it fucked up to you, Joe?
It ain't right, Joe. I just don't understand what we're doing. It's just so back and forth. Everyone's talking about we're shutting down. I don't see any shutting down happening.
Okay.
I see a lot of people out there without masks on. I just don't think... we finally hit 250,000 U.S. deaths. And I just don't know... Like, do you need the state to babysit your kids that bad? For 9 hours a day that bad? Can we ask those people? Can we go get a medium in here, get a channeling medium, and ask each of those 250,000 dead Americans if what they think we're doing right now is worth the sacrifice they involuntarily made for this big whoopsie we're all in? And I know a lot of people, I know you're probably even going to bring this up, Joe, that it's not all COVID deaths. If they say it's a COVID death, they get $50,000, the hospital does, or whatever, in federal aid, you know what I mean, because of the emergency status, which is not inappropriate. But if you have a guy who died anyway and there's COVID in the building, I know people are going to say that. Yeah. But even, is that really all? Is that really most? And I get it. I get that, all these people are going to die anyway, right? So forget about it, right? But I don't know. Maybe it just seems so distracting. Like, I don't understand why we're not more...
You have to take a side, though, Jake. Like, you have to either take the side of you policing everybody else,
mm-hmm.
or you have to take the side of why are these fucking boomers? Why are we trying to keep the boomers alive?
Right.
Why do I
You
can't,
hear a lot of that. You hear a lot of that out there.
well, I'm not working right now.
Right.
I work at a restaurant and I'm not working. So I'm not working. I'm not making any money. Okay, well, you can get unemployment. I make like $50 in unemployment.
Right.
And it's all to keep, Grandpa Lewis alive. And it's really
You have a grandpa
frustrating.
named Lewis?
No.
My dog's name is Lewis. Well,
Yeah.
and it's because it goes both ways too. It's like the things that they're not.
It feels like you're.
It doesn't make sense to for some people to stay home and work from home or whatever, but then for all their kids to be at school, that doesn't make sense, right? Because teachers are
Right.
giving it to each other mostly, it seems. But that's why all the adults are working from home, so they don't get it from their filthy, disgusting coworkers, right? And I don't understand that. Just the hypocrisy. It's like just the picking and choosing. It's either like let everything happen. I can't go to a restaurant, but I have to go into public schools every day.
You can go into a restaurant.
You know what I mean? But now here locally we're shut down again.
Go
To
to a
like 25%. Some places I don't think you can dine in at all.
Well, that's the thing is so we have a patio at the place I work at, and you can go into it, and it's basically inside with shutters, and it's frustrating to me that and so we're creating these fake patios. All these restaurants creating these fake patios where it's because it's winter-proofed patio, and so everybody's huddled around these heaters in enclosed laminate patio.
Yeah, they're like in a
space.
big Tupperware.
And it's
Let's heat the air up enough to create some moisture so the virus can travel, and then we'll all huddle around it, and we're not going to get any breeze in here because of the. Yeah, that's just what I'm saying. Is I just don't understand. We knew the second wave was going to happen, right? I don't know why there's not more rapid testing more widely available. Number one, I don't know why my friends that don't have insurance can't get tested for free. I don't get it. I know that people are saying, oh, you gotta go to CVS on a Monday. It's not. They're not getting tested because they're being told they have to pay for it wherever they went. So it has to be widely available and cost effective if you're really going to get people to use it as a preventative measure to spreading it. You know what I mean? I had to cancel a studio session was it last week or 2 weeks ago because of the just the exposure, and I don't think the guy that I was going to work with ever got tested, never experienced any symptoms. His roommate ended up testing positive, but literally because he couldn't figure out a cost-effective way to get tested, which is not his fault. He's a hardworking dude. I'm not blaming him.
This doesn't work. The idea of a virus doesn't work in capitalism.
That's the thing. It's just challenging so much of apparently our economy requires that everyone's kids are at school. And I'm not going to say that they shouldn't be. If you want your kids to be at school and they're at school, great. I hope it's safe.
Yeah, but they set it up like that.
But it's just not.
Universities require it.
It's just not feeling that way. And, I'm thinking we never went back to pre 9/11. And I know you and me were children, but, maybe we should also check in with the 250,000 Iraqi civilians we zapped out of existence for oil and lithium that we use in phone batteries. And maybe that's collateral damage, but if all of our tax dollars are fueling this military industrial complex, I think we should expect that the drone strikes are a little more accurate. I think we should expect that maybe bomb a couple less soccer fields and weddings, right? And I feel that same way right now about this pandemic. I'm guys, okay, so now, especially now the election's over, it's why don't I have rapid testing available? Why can't somebody come to my house and rapid test me on my front porch? Because that's the way you're going to get people to test themselves so they really know when they're at risk of spreading a virus around their community or family or whatever. And Thanksgiving's next week. Some schools here are going to be shut down for 2 weeks after Thanksgiving electively. They're choosing just to go virtual for 2 weeks after Thanksgiving because they don't trust people not to spread the virus amongst themselves over the break. And they're just going to let everyone stay home for 2 weeks to wait out any exposure threat, which is their right to do that. But I just don't understand why we can't get a handle on it to the point where people are just going to close schools for 2 weeks after a holiday. Does that sound crazy to you?
Yeah, I'm hurting from it. I think and I keep saying
I'm suffering.
I've got to be back in school. I mean, this whole like, I've got ADHD and I'm doing this stuff at home, and it's impossible, and like it's just hard, and like,
Well, and that's the other thing. It's like I don't want to necessarily work from home because I mean, it was really lovely when we got to do it for. I mean, it was a really lovely change of pace. It was a nice. It wasn't without its benefits, right? But, like you're saying, like I do feel more productive and more focused when I can transition to my building. I don't mind my commute. It's just long enough to be nice. Right. And being in person, I definitely feel targeted more on the stuff that I have to do there. I don't have all these fun toys there around my desk. That would be a lot to bring every day. And but yeah, the greater issue is just, we're so hypocritical and picky and choosy about the safety.
yeah, the election, I think this is frustrating, but it also makes sense. So, our numbers really haven't changed too much since the election, but we were all in the voting booths, but it makes sense because you can't tell people, oh, you can't vote in person, because that's when people would freak out.
Right.
But then also
But also, if everyone's wearing a mask, you can have COVID and go vote in a voting booth and then leave. You scrub in, you vote, you keep your mask on the whole time, you scrub out. You know what I mean? I mean, you'd really have to be exposed to somebody and not know that you have it for them to get it. From what I'm reading, it's not like it's just automatically living on. People are just not really statistically getting it from surfaces and items as much as actual contact with other people, especially when they're talking or singing or sharing pop.
Yeah, but I mean also the politicians in place.
Can we talk about the stimulus for a second? Can we even talk about the stimulus and bailouts and corporate welfare and how corporations are like interwoven with the very fabric of our government right now, and not just money and lobbying, but that like I had you look this up. CEOs of billion-dollar corporations are going on to retire from those corporations to hold positions like supervisory positions in government. Who was the guy? Actually, coincidentally, just got fired. Elizabeth Warren was tweeting that this guy was a hero and that Trump was a monster for firing him, but we were just talking about him last week because he was the former VP of Microsoft. Correct. And then he went on to be I forget his position, but he was on the supervisory committee of he was election stuff.
Yeah, he was the elections. He was the election supervisor for widespread fraud. So
yeah, he was the cybersecurity czar for
Christopher Krebs.
Chris Krebs, that's the guy. Yeah, with Krebs with a K, Krei.
Krebs.
Mm-hmm. EBS.
Director of Cybersecurity and
Director of Cybersecurity, which includes Election Guard, which is the software used on a lot of the ballot machines. Which I use the ballot machine. I love a ballot machine. I'm not about the machines being the enemy here, but you would just think that would be a conflict of interest for an exclusively federal military funded developer to collaborate with Microsoft to develop this software, and then that guy is the guy implementing it. It's not even the nepotism or the cronyism or the it's not just the conflict of interest there, but you would also think there's an intellectual security conflict of interest with what those implications are. I mean, I just don't think people understand that, and it's not about the political aspect as much as just the small group of people controlling so much of the wealth, and then that wealth and influence fusing, at a conceptual level with, our government. Yeah. My wife hates when I talk about these things, and we're all here supposed to fight one another. Like, I'm supposed to be bad at my neighbor right now because instead of a Buy Dawn or BLM sign, she posts, a Catholic opt-out statement of keep all life sacred at her front yard. Somehow she can assert her faith and imply a pro-life stance and undermine a totally unrelated movement all at once. But the thing that really aggravates me is that I'm supposed to be mad about that. Like, that's not at all the real problem, really. Like, she's a sweet lady, and we like similar shit, and she has a cute dog, and he's old, but he's here, and, the proverbial they want me to fight with her so that I'm not looking up at the real hellscape smoldering at the topmost levels of our civilization. That when I hear about these things, my wife is right. for my mental health, I should not be pursuing scholarship of which corporate overlords are infiltrating the government, right? I have plenty of my own anxiety in my own small little bubble of my life, right? Am I wrong? Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
You're going to tell me that I'm wrong? No, I completely agree.
Like, I drive home and I see that and I think, that's actually a really beautiful statement, but it's also so loaded with implications of the negative things it could mean. And then,
but you said it yourself. You can't say things like everything is everything is a virtue signal. It's like you said it to me privately. You were like, you can't like things like I'm pro-family.
That's a controversial position.
Controversial position.
Apparently, if I'm pro-family values, that also must mean that you hate non-traditional, non-nuclear families, and you know what I mean?
Why being heteronormative? What do you mean? So you can have kids,
which I also totally get. But it just, I hope it calms down now. This cycle is over. I'm hoping it gets really boring again.
It's chiller for sure. Chiller. I feel chiller. I don't feel like the need to check Facebook as much.
Did you even have time to catch up on Harry Styles and a dress on Vogue?
No, I actually...
Like, what the fuck? I didn't know it was 1950, and all you had to do to draw a little attention to yourself was put on a dress. I released a live album last year, on the cover of which, and the entire night of, which is documented on YouTube, I'm wearing an old Tarpaulin-like wedding dress. I thought it was a cute photo. I like Harry Styles. I like his music. I love his role in society, even. I'll even say I like the cover. I thought it was a cute dress. Objectively speaking, it's a brilliant stunt for him in Vogue. We're still talking about it. It's been like a week. It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of a stupid thing to even bring up. I just think it's a little weird that I only heard about it because people are mad about it. He's not a minor. He's not like on the Disney Channel anymore. He's a grown man.
He was on the Disney Channel?
He wasn't One Direction from the Disney Channel?
He was in One Direction?
Harry Styles?
That wasn't Disney. No. There was a band that was a spin-off. It was literally the Monkees to the Beatles. Like there was One Direction and then there was another band. I think it was
O-Town.
No, it was called it wasn't the Bad News Bears. It was
I hate you so much right now.
Damn it. It was that jingle. What is
That's
it?
don't tell me.
Yeah, come on.
Big Time Rush.
Big Time Rush.
And so yeah, you're right. Big Time Rush was like the Disney Channel's response to One Direction.
Yeah.
It was post Jonas Brother, maybe.
Yeah.
Like they went on their little hiatus.
Mm-hmm. Stop wearing promise rings.
I literally only heard that Harry Styles was even on the cover of Vogue because people were mad about it. Apparently, Candace Owens thinks it's an assault on masculinity.
God, I love her.
She's great. What a goon.
Yeah, but it's also just like it's like the equivalent of like wearing like tennis shoes with your suit. It's like,
oh my God, yeah.
Phil Collins is like,
Jerry Seinfeld is edgy because he wore Nikes with a blazer.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's like, good God, let me off of this time machine.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what year is it?
And he's on Vogue. It's not like he's on GQ. He's on Vogue. It's just like...
They put Harry Styles in a dress to distract us from the Microsoft conspiracy.
Yeah. Or let's just talk about Jack White's guitar thing. What's that distracting us
What
from?
is that about? Did you? Yeah, like me and Joe are huge fans of Mr. White, and we keep getting the same video from like 9 months ago over and over again in all of our suggested algorithms. And we're like, guys, I've seen this one. Hello, it's from blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm surprised I don't know the exact date. Joe, I wrote this down because I didn't want to dig into it because I mentioned it to you, and before I had time to look it up, you fell really in love with it. Are you ready to talk about the libertarian bears?
Oh my gosh. Guys.
Don't address my audience.
What's happening out there and what's being hidden from us is beautiful. This is the most beautiful story. This is the next best writing to the Bible. I mean, this is the best writing. It goes the Bible, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and then this article.
Goblet was a good one. Goblet,
solid. Great
it's
book.
like its own saga.
Yeah, it's its own book.
And that's how I felt about fourth grade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a saga. My teacher was very old. We had those Mac desktops with the clear acrylic back.
Oh man.
So they were different colors, and we would get on Netscape and we'd play this game about finding Carmen Sandiego, but nobody knew how to play it.
Yeah.
That's when I was reading Harry Potter 4, was 4th grade. And that's also, I think, wasn't that the 4th book? That's the year of the book?
Year of the book, but he kind of, his age kind of starts from middle school on. So
oh, that's right. They start at like 10 or 11.
So he's like 14.
You got to learn how to read before you can go to Hogwarts.
Yeah.
So I heard just this headline. I heard that libertarians establish free town, but get run off by bears, is all I know. And so I asked Joe to look into this.
It's Dragon Liberty. It's freedom.
Freedom the Dragon.
It's based. So all these articles are based on a book by Matthew Hongel Hedling, I think is the way you pronounce it. He's like a Pulitzer Prize finalist journalist. He won like the George Polk Award. He's a really big time. I mean, he's a great writer, and he's a really good writer for this. I'm using the article from the New Republic, which is a great article. I don't know about this news source, but it has like an audio track to go along with it, so you can have it read to you if you want. But I mean, so it's based about
what?
Yeah, it's based on the town of Grafton and New
Wait,
Hampshire.
why is that relevant? Why is it relevant that it'll read it to you? Did you have them read it to you?
No, I read it. I can read. Okay.
Are you saying that my audience needs it read to them?
I mean, if you're
not even giving them the link.
If you're busy and you're going to work, yeah, you can find the link in the bio.
To what?
Of my show.
Yeah, you need your own blog to post links in. Remind me to work on that.
Yes.
Okay, so great. You found this great website where they'll read to you because you're a child. And then what did the nice computer lady say?
You know, and you can choose the voices too if you want.
Yeah, I'd like an old woman.
That's an option. Well, and they also are not gender specific with them, so you can choose.
I'd love an old non-binary entity.
No, but that's not what they say.
Like ancient, just flat platypus.
They do like fruit-based color. So
Fruited,
it's like, so you can do like lime,
colors.
And the lime is like kind of a teenager lady, who just got out of journalist school.
Like a nice lady teen.
Yeah. But it could be. Anyway, so it's set in Grafton, New Hampshire. Yeah, and back in the 90s, so a John Bobyars is a software designer, and they make a joke about him. They say he's kind of like Krusty the Clown. He laughs like Krusty the Clown, and he was kind of a libertarian, and he goes there, and he's kind of retired, probably like working on small projects or whatever.
Odd jobs.
Yeah,
he's off the grid.
Well, Grafton kind of has a history already of being like.
And this is Grafton,
New Hampshire. So like even in the past, people in Grafton like ran off royalist law enforcement that were coming to collect lumber for the king, and
Oh, so this was an old established community.
Kind of. It just has a history. And,
Yeah. Okay.
But it's a small town though. It's got like 800 people, And so this guy comes and he like joins the fire department and he tries to run for mayor, but like kind of fails. He tries running for governor on the libertarian ticket, doesn't get it. The bids are high for his office. He fails. But his ambitions remained undimmed. And in 2004, him and Rosalie, who is his wife, connected with a small group of libertarian activists, and Grafton, with its lack of zoning laws and low levels of civic participation, they chose Grafton to kind of take over.
When year was this?
This takes place kind of in the late 90s first, but it starts there.
Oh, okay. So this isn't like 1,000 years ago.
No. And then, but they're in, so this town starts to kind of develop, and they've got like John Connell from Massachusetts. He said he arrived on a mission from God and liquidated his savings and brought the historic Grafton Center Meeting House. So he bought the historic Grafton Center Meeting House and turned it into the Peaceful Assembly Church, which is kind of not really a church. It's kind of like this art collective, but he kind of did it so he wouldn't have to pay taxes. And and they make a joke because it's like you're
So late 90s, this guy starts this art collective in this
a different guy, but it's the same. It's part of the group.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'm listing off the people who went there. It's like Adam Franz, who's a self-described anti-capitalist who set up a tent city, which was a planned community, and Richard Angel, who's an anti-circumcision activist named Dick, who has the name Dick Angel. Dick Angel, and so on, and these are.
I really wanted to call the episode "Fat Little Debbie," but so far we have literal cat shit and Dick Angel beating them out.
Yeah,
Dick Angel and the Libertarian Bears.
Well, so they take over this town, and they slashed the town's already tiny yearly budget of $1 million by 30%, obliged the town to fight legal test cases, and staged absurd standoffish encounters with the sheriff to rack up YouTube hits. So they
were like trolling.
They were like really
like living trolls.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like when like your aunt who's kind of like estranged comes to your house and wants to like rearrange everything for the worse, or like put that away and change the music, but it's just
so they were really
everything.
Stirring it up out there.
Yeah, they were really. It was like anarchy, but they thought they were doing something, and so like potholes multiplied and domestic disputes proliferated. Violent crime started spiking, and town workers started going without heat, despite several promising efforts. A robust Rondian private sector failed to emerge
because they cut so much of the budget to lower taxes, but then the stuff they cut was like potholes and like utilities and stuff.
Yeah, people started losing just money. The town itself was just falling apart
in economic disrepair.
Yeah, and they couldn't replace public services, kind of like that. So it was a haven for miserable people. And they called it a town gone feral, and then they ended with "Enter the Bears, stage right." So like, meanwhile, there's like this really weird thing happening where these like extraordinarily intelligent but also extraordinarily violent bears started showing up. These black bears.
Why are they so smart?
They don't know. They have no idea. It's like it's a complete anomaly. They're these extraordinarily intelligent, and there's a bunch of them.
And they're black bears?
They're black bears.
Are black bears dangerous?
Black bears are they're not. I mean, you can actually what they encourage you to do is to make sure that you make yourself.
Are black bears dangerous?
Yes.
Okay.
But not super dangerous.
Not like grizzly bears.
They're
not nearly as big.
Yeah.
But they got to be a little dangerous. They certainly fuck your dog up, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's what they were doing. Like they went up and there's like a woman with her cats. I don't know. It says playing with her cats. I was like, that's a little fucked up.
Cats don't play.
Yeah. And the bear just came up and just ate two of them, just like easily. But the problem is this libertarian town started disagreeing on how to deal with them. So
with the bears?
With the bears. So like there was like this Patti Smith kind of lady who's like, was like feeding them. She was setting up like big buckets of grain and donuts and like feeding them and inviting them. She was like, we need to speak to them. We need to, make this relationship. And once we have an understanding, they'll, be fine. And then there are
they won't eat us if we feed them donuts and corn in a box.
Right. And, attract them like raccoons. But,
big fluffy raccoons.
But like they attacked 3 women in their homes, not at the same time. Wasn't like 3 women.
It was a coordinated attack. Yeah. They all hung outside the doors like in the village, and they said 1, 2, 3, and they went in there and they messed them all up at once. That's horrifying.
It is. It's
because a small town like that, you can't have a crime response to 3 simultaneous bear attacks. Yeah. There's not all 3 of them are going to get the help they need on time. It's just not possible in a free, truly Wild West type of situation.
But it's hilarious because it's these like Facebook troll guys who pose with their guns, not their drum sets, with their guns.
They pose with their drums. Drummers, bro.
Yeah, but they're like posing with like machine guns. Grafton already, like New Hampshire already has like like per capita the most like machine gun owners ever, and like, but they're all posing their guns and they're online like, I'm a survivalist, like I don't need the fucking government. Like they're these guys and they're the survivalists, and they go out there and it's just so beautiful. It's such a beautiful analogy, and nature is just like, no, like no.
Like there's a reason you have all this government infrastructure, and it's to keep real wildlife out of your nice little woodland community, Chet.
Right. And it just shows how much they rely on like the metropolitan,
metropolitan,
metropolitan like lifestyle
infrastructure. That's really what we're talking about here. Is that a state government would have, and I'm sure there's federal versions of this. Zach is online. Hey Zach, yes, we're live, guys. I think we're gonna survive. I think we're gonna make it. I bought some new toys. I'm hoping we have a better video quality, a more consistent stream. And we were talking about libertarian bears. What was I saying?
I was just talking about how it's like these ideologies that kind of rely on.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to have the freedom and the safety and the security to believe and practice however you want to believe and practice, right?
Right.
Because here's the thing. A state still has conservation departments, right, that do things like, for example, if you have an invasion of highly intelligent black bears in a lovely woodland community in New Hampshire, they could relocate some of those bears and do controlled operations to kind of shoo them away. And if you're living in a trailer park where everyone's got guns and gold in the mattress because they're just living out loud, you don't necessarily have that kind of protection and that kind of proven strategic approach. So they're having this problem with these bears. The bears are attacking people, they're killing cats, and the townsfolk disagree on how to deal with the bears. That's, I think, where I stopped you, was after the 3 simultaneous bear attacks.
Well, and essentially, so it just leads to the conclusion of the article, which is like, so they have disenfranchised the government, and literally it's just non-existent. And so
what do you mean?
They're literally just left to fend for themselves. And the conclusion of the article is left with, it says, meanwhile, the dreams of numerous libertarians came to ends variously dramatic and quiet. A real estate development venture known as Grafton Gulch, in homage to the dissonant enclave.
Homage.
Sorry, I'm sorry. The Atlas shrugged, went belly up, which was like one of the organizations there. After losing a last-ditch effort to secure tax exemption, a financially ruined Connell found himself unable to keep the heat at the meeting house in the midst of the brutal winter. He waxed apocalyptic, and then he died in a fire. Which is just so like Jonestown.
How many people got killed by the bears? Do we know?
I don't think it doesn't.
Were there any?
I think it does actually in the article.
No, that's fine. It's not. Enough people started having real problems with the bears that nobody lives there anymore. Correct?
Yeah, I think there was only 1 or 2 actual deaths. I think that's what I heard from this. But there were definitely a lot of attacks. And it just began to be, and they can't. So you can't shoot them. Actually, technically, it's illegal to shoot bears unless you have a license. And that was kind of also ironic.
This is such a great point. Did you know Mark Zuckerberg did a thing where he only ate meat that he killed and butchered himself for a year?
That's so weird.
That's like the Joe Rogan elk thing.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of, yeah. Who can afford to do that is right. Is exactly right. That's so you're right, because it's like that level of privilege where it's like, I am a free person, so I'm going to take my F-350 and my AR-15 and I'm going to get a cabin in the woods, and we don't need no government out here. And then the bears show up. Yeah.
Well, and it's just, but also just the ending of it is like,
you described it as poetic in the text message.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ending of this is like it's like Jonestown. This guy who owns this weird church set himself on fire. And like,
oh, he set himself on fire?
I mean, he dies in a fire, but I like to imagine it that
it was probably his fault. But you don't think you're saying it's more poetic if it was intentional?
Yeah, it would be like, I like to imagine that it was maybe intentional, but yeah, I don't want to mislead the truth. But
no, I was just checking.
Franz quit his survivalist commune, which soon walled itself off into a prison-like compound. The better to enjoy freedom, and John Babiars, the erstwhile inaugurator of the project.
I lost track of what the sentence even is.
I know. Okay, became the target of relentless vilification by the former ideological cohorts. So they all turned on each other.
Right.
They turned on their leader, who did not appreciate his refusal to let them enjoy unsecure blazes on high wildlife risk afternoons. So he wasn't letting them go and hunt the bears. When another high-profile libertarian social engineering enterprise...
Yeah, and then the one lady was feeding him.
Yeah, right. And yeah, right. Like, why aren't you showing up at her house? The Free State Project. So this other kind of organization comes in and says the Free State Project received national attention by promoting a mass influx to New Hampshire in general, and the Freetown Project's fate was sealed. So like, another kind of organization came in and like kind of took over. And I mean, I think like it was essentially like gentrified, I think is what is implied here. And Grafton became just another town in a state with many options that did not have the same problem with bears. So like it was taken over by, it got attention of another group.
So it's not up and coming. It's not a bastion of libertarianism. It's kind of just a town that has bears in it.
Yeah. Well, they got rid of the bears, I guess. They
were able. The government finally came in and eradicated the bear infestation. I'm hoping they were all humanely relocated.
Yeah,
because you said they were highly. I bet you they were planted. I bet you the government said, "Fine, if you don't want us to come in there and fill potholes, and you don't want to pay taxes, guess what we have? A bushel of highly intelligent black bears."
Right. I apologize for the delivery on that. I was very excited about talking about this article.
We're not actually done yet. That was a false stop. Joe, I really appreciate your level of research on the libertarian bears. I did not know we were going to go on the whole trip. I love it. I love them.
That needs its own podcast.
I had a couple things that I've really been trying to practice in my own life that part of the show is we're supposed to have positive affirmations every week. So we talked about everything I'm mad about, and let's talk about how to deal with some of those things. Are you ready, Joe? Okay, number one, please be aware of what people are dealing with when considering judgment of their behavior. But that goes both ways. Be compassionate and responsive, overreactive when trying to decode messages from another person, but also please consider what your audience is carrying with them emotionally or psychologically before you speak to them. I had some lady pop off at me all crazy at work the other day. I was absolutely dumbfounded by the level of venom at an unsolicited sort of interaction. And I had to step back and I had to really say, listen, especially in the industry I work in, we're all under a lot of stress right now. Obviously, this was a miscommunication. Think about the stress she is under. But then I also didn't want to back down and say that that was the end of it. I also maybe need her to consider that I'm in this boat with you, lady, and maybe you need to be a little nicer. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about that because you and me talked about this a couple weeks ago with the election, is that think about the stress and the anxiety people were going into the voting booth with. Nothing has changed except for now we don't have to vote. Many of us are out in situations that make us uncomfortable every day because of the nature of what we're dealing with. And so I want you to expect people to be a little more patient with you, and then I want you to be a little more patient with everybody else.
Yeah, it is a little bit. I think there are some patrons at the restaurant that are a little bit more chill now, for the lack of a better word. I think it's going better, I think, with the everybody being more compassionate. But what was she mad at you about?
Oh, it wasn't even. It was just an offhanded kind of a comment. It wasn't even. That's not even the part that's necessary.
It's a coworker.
Sure, and these things happen. This is normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, teaching is hard. My girlfriend's a teacher, and she says that the amount of yeah, the amount of passive aggression that happens is pretty tough. A lot of very close quarters at the school house.
Really?
Rock.
Schoolhouse rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I was dealing
But
with.
so that's the thing. It's like, I mean, a lot of people, especially if you have to work closely with other people, like people that work in schools do. I just want people to have a little more grace with one another.
Yeah.
I think people are getting aggravated with people too quickly, and I also think people are probably, like myself, getting a little too sensitive when people maybe express some anxiety or and it's just helped me emotionally in my life to really try to reflect on all those conversations and really think about instead of just having fights with people in my head. I try to coach myself into de-escalating those arguments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, are you out of juice from
No,
the Bears?
No, I was just.
You're the only one here.
I would rather. I more enjoy talking about outrage and how this person.
That's what I'm saying. But we had so much of that today. I got mad at dating app racism. We got mad at the conspiracy of Microsoft. With the election guard. We got mad at what else? What else we got so mad today? And I want to take that out into your life. Take that little bit out into your life where you don't have to be so mad. Yeah. Try to respond instead of react. Speak to the emotion, not from it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess that would just. I think what the problem is that requires that I have more control over my life than I do, and with the school stuff, so. I don't have any teacher affirmation. They don't really know what I'm doing until the exam rolls around. And the frustration I have with that is not only did I have a really hard time, I feel like not only the teacher has less responsibility now for college students. And I feel like I'm just they threw a book at me and then put me in the Silence of the Lambs pit. And then they're just we'll let you out when you can take this test and get a perfect score. And I'm like, what about weekly visits? Can I have
Can you kind of court me through the process a little bit? Where's the bedside manner?
Yeah, could I have a lunch?
Can I get a sandwich? Can I get a sun butter sandwich?
No!
I know.
You put the test in the basket.
Put it. Did you use the right pencil?
Yeah, right. And then I'm so, because and the frustration with that is so I'm spending weeks, I spent a week studying for this test, and everybody's around why are you so upset? And did you try going for a walk? I'm like, no, I've got so much to learn right now. I'm working my ass off, and it's really frustrating. And I think that's actually the problem the responsibility of some people, and what I'm not getting paid for is just really high right now. And it's really hard. I'm really,
and I think you're going to find that's a lot of we talked about. I go to a fast food place this morning. I had to pay the guy at the second window. That's how short staffed they were. They didn't have a window lady. And I love my window lady. That's a 2-step process. I having my window lady. I had to hand him my phone so he could go Apple Pay at the kiosk across the way.
This is the apocalypse.
I mean, what? I can't get an apple fritter? I can't get a fat little Debbie at 6 a.m. when I'm trying to calf up and prepare for my day out in this psychotic. I have to wear a mask. I've been smelling the apple fritter all day because I had a mask on.
Yeah.
And I can't get one lady to take my payment and the other gentleman to hand me my fritter.
Yeah. I really, I think actually at this
But God is good.
God is good.
God is good every day.
Yeah. I think if I could substitute for all the sugar intake that I need to get real in the morning, I would love to just replace with getting the shit beaten out of me.
Yeah, wake me up and just fucking lay me out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to wake up fighting for my life.
Yeah. I mean,
hold
honestly,
me down like you're going to sacrifice my spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that way I can approach my homework and be like...
That way I have the adrenaline going, I can probably evacuate my bowels very swiftly, and I can get started with my day. In college, energy drinks were still really big.
Oh, man.
And I was still maybe even sometimes doing corn syrup, even though it's not my favorite. I do avoid the high fructose corn syrup.
Gets me so high.
And so I thought, well, what if I just carried around little packets of hot sauce? Because the spicy will give me the adrenaline boost, and then I'll drink water and I'll be hydrated and it'll be perfect.
Real talk. I'm gonna try that.
No cap, fam.
Yeah.
No cap.
Yeah.
Full send.
No cap.
I don't even know what that one means. I'm usually really good with those.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, at this point, that's the way I feel. I mean, like, if I could just have it all, like, if my homework could be the nicest part of my day, that's actually what I need.
I was really good at homework.
Yeah. Maybe if we had like a draft, like if I'm like, you can either fucking die for the corporation or you can do some math homework, I'd be like, fucking math homework all day. There are people dying for the corporation.
That's the plan. We're going to get back to war here in a minute. Biden has never met a war he couldn't vote for. So
that's what I'm praying on.
He's going to launch some missiles, like I mentioned, just because he needs the other half of the country to know that he'll do it. He'll pop it off.
I'll fucking do it.
He will do it. And he's going to prove that he can do it. He's going to find somebody that's got anthrax. Oh, we didn't even get into anthrax today. That's not for now.
That was a different podcast.
That's got to be a different. We can't right now with the anthrax. Don't even with the anthrax with me. Mm-hmm. Google it. But yeah, he's going to find a reason to launch a missile, and that's good. I hope he does. And then Kamala's going to give us a choice. We're either going on the Great Eastern Vacation, or we're going to study real hard.
Bringing drones back, baby.
Yeah, I think we're going to bring the drones back. Oh, yeah, Biden loves a drone.
Oh, my gosh.
Biden loves a drone.
Joe Obama.
They loved a drone.
They do.
And listen, I think we need to get drones better. I think drones need to be better. I think we need to kill less babies at funerals. And I think we need to kill more actual threats so we can harvest their lithium and make cell phone batteries.
It was a funeral.
Woo! Oh, the healing power. I feel so much better. Make sure you check out live music by Jacob V wherever you stream or buy music online. We are on Spotify. We have a live album we put out last year. If you miss live music, it's guerrilla style, baby. It's a great way to go back and listen to what a rock show used to sound like in a club that you were making people listen to a band. It takes me way back.
The Mad Magician.
Also find us on, remember that place? Also find us on Twitter. I'm Malachi Envy on Twitter. On Instagram, Jacob Allen V. That's ALANVI. Jacob with a C. Of course, share Jacob V Weekly. We are back on Spotify. Our last 2 episodes delayed posting to Spotify because of a technical issue on our end that has since been resolved. So you may have a lost episode you didn't know about. Go back and find it if you're a Spotify listener.
The McRib is back.
The McRib is back right now?
Yeah.
I know what I'm having for dinner. See you next week.